Ambassador, it's good to see you. I want to focus on food security in my questioning. Can you give us the circumstances, the state of in play as far as food security in the Sahel? How dire is it?
In parts of the Sahel, it's dire and getting worse by the day. One of the great challenges that we face in terms of, obviously there's food security and then food assistance and nutritional assistance, is the displacement of communities. I began in my testimony by pointing out that we're now seeing 4,000 people displaced per day in just Burkina Faso every day since the beginning of this year. That's creating extraordinary challenges, humanitarian terms, but also in how you reinforce food security and food production, which we know is the basis of the economy in all of these areas. So we not only have the immediate emergency relief challenge, we have the long-term challenge that if we fail to address, we're going to be stuck in that emergency relief challenge for as far out in the future as I can see, and that's a bad answer. That's not good.
So what's going on currently with the emergency relief in this region?
So we are providing food assistance in the emergency relief terms, but what I think is the better news are the Feed the Future investments we are able to make in different parts. We're seeing good food security work underway in places like Niger that we need to keep working on. For us, food security investments are the key to economic stabilization in each of these countries. We don't get that right, the rest of it, quite frankly, isn't going to hold.
Your response may tell me at least the sense I might have how you'd answer this next question, but I think it's an important question. At least I'd like to understand when Bill Emerson humanitarian trust dollars would be used. My understanding, they have not been used since 2014, and it takes a request from you to U.S. Department of Agriculture to accomplish that. What's your theory or philosophy as to when to call on that trust?
To be honest, I'll have to get back to you on that. We'll make sure we get a written answer to you.
Thank you, Ambassador. Mr. Hale, let me ask this question. The State Department's IG last year could not affirm that counter-violence extremist grants, CVE grants, were achieving their desired result. The explanation is because the Bureau and country statistics, our strategies don't align with the department's CVE goals and objectives. You know about that Inspector General's report, and is there anything that's happened that would allow us to better gauge whether or not success is occurring?
I don't have personal familiarity with that, but I will go back and get an answer for you. I also want to make sure that, in fact, we are lined up. Obviously, we need to be able to measure our impacts. I agree with the thrust of your question.
Inspector General's report that suggests that's not possible, at least at the point in time that
Got
occurred.
it.
Let me then go back to Ambassador Green. In regard to traditional authorities, religious leaders, they're being targeted to undermine social stability in the region. What role can USAID play in trying to stop the attacks, and is there a role for interfaith dialogue to occur?
Great question. I'll answer the last part of that. That's an easy one. Yes, absolutely. I think promotion of interfaith dialogue is absolutely essential in many parts of the Sahel. One of the trips that I took last year was to the Central Belt in Nigeria. I couldn't get up, quite frankly, to northeastern Nigeria to see the active conflict areas. But helping to distinguish between what are decades-old community disputes that can be reconciled through dialogue versus the pernicious influence of outside extremist groups is extraordinarily important to our work. We have to make sure we have the right tool for the right job. Oftentimes what we see happening is through the use of social media messaging by, quite frankly, self-promoting and corrupt political leaders, they seek to turn into interreligious disputes those which are not interreligious disputes. And so we make a lot of investments in essentially community liaisons who can help us identify causes for disputes, help us make sure that we are promoting dialogue and tackling disputes before they become truly interreligious, the kinds of disputes that we're seeing exploited in some of the worst areas of conflict in the Sahel region. So partnering with interfaith voices, making sure that we understand the nature of conflicts when they do arise, and making sure that we push back against some of the messaging which unfairly stereotypes and abuses stereotypes, I think is a very important part of our work in the Sahel region.
Mr. Administrator, thank you very much for your personal interest and commitment in the well-being of other parts in the world, which ultimately causes the well-being of the citizens of the United States to be enhanced. Thank you.